Hey, what's up friends? Baldwin here. Welcome back to the Speaker Lab channel, where today we're going to be taking a speech breakdown with the legendary Les Brown. Les is a guy that has obviously been in the speaking game for many, many years. He's someone that a lot of you have reached out and requested that we do a speech breakdown for. So we're going to take this video that he has from a talk he did several years ago. This looks like it may even be from the 80s. It's an old video there, but the content is really, really good. I found myself even just lost in it at times. So we're going to talk about whether or not you should use slides. Hint, he doesn't use any slides. We're also going to be talking about the power of stories and examples and application of that. We're also going to be talking about the cadence and volume of your voice whenever you're speaking. So lots to get into, lots to learn from the legendary Les Brown. Let's get right into it.
Oh, y'all look good. I want you to look at...
Now, let's point out something here. There's a big, big difference in an audience that wants to be there versus an audience that has to be there. So you may have been speaking at something before where the audience was required to attend by their boss, or their company made them, or something like that, or they just didn't want to be there. And so there's not nearly the anticipation, the excitement, the energy versus an audience that wants to be there. Now, and there's a difference also between an audience that wants to be there for the event and an audience that wants to be there for this specific speaker. So it seems like this audience came specifically not just for this random conference, random event, or whatever this venue may be or setup may be, but they came to see Les Brown, right? So there's a different energy there. So think about, for you, if you're going to go see, if you're going to go to a local club to see a musician or an artist or a band play, it's one thing to, I'm going to go to this club or this venue just because I like listening to live music. It's another thing to, I'm going to go there because my favorite band on the planet is going to be there. There's a different energy that you bring to the table there when you go with that type of anticipation for who's going to be performing or playing. So the same thing is true for an audience whenever it comes to speaking. The audience most likely is here because of Les Brown. This may be his own event, and so people are much more excited, much more into it from the beginning before he's even really said anything.
Look at something right now. Think of some major goal you want, or maybe it's one you're already working on and you have experienced a lot of setbacks, a lot of defeats. You've experienced a lot of disappointment. Maybe you've already given up. And maybe you just need a little fire.
Now, did you notice here, he's going right into it, right? So he said, man, you all look good today, something like that. And then he's not wasting any more time, because those first few moments that you have as a speaker with the audience is some of the most powerful moments that you have. The audience's attention is fully engaged. They're fully dialed in. They're fully with you. And so everything from here, the audience attention span is naturally going to decrease. And so he goes right into it and comes out of the gate swinging with some content. So this is a really good start.
All right, a little encouragement to get back in the game again. Here's what I want you to look at. There are winners, and there are losers, and there are people who have not discovered how to win. And all they need is some coaching. All they need is some help and assistance, just a little support. All they need is some insight or a different strategy, a plan of action to make some adjustments that will open up the key to a whole new future for them, that will give them access to the unlimited power that they have within themselves. That's all that they need. So what I want you to do is think about something you want for you, that's real for you, that's important for you, that will give your life some special meaning and power. And I don't even want you to say, I can do that. I don't want you to assume that. See, 5 years ago when I started out in this area, I would not have been able to make the mental leap that I would be up to where I am right now. I don't want you to begin to just psych yourself out. No. I want you to be able to say something to yourself that will enable you to maintain a level of integrity with yourself. That when you say this, even when you face tremendous setbacks, it will be a benchmark to keep you in the game, to keep you moving forward and experimenting and readjusting your strategy and your plan of action, continuously looking for ways to win. So what is that something? When you got an idea you want to move on, you might not have the money, you might not have the education, you might not have the support or the resources you need. What is that something that can keep us going, that will enable us to act on our dream? What's one of those keys
Now, I want you to pay attention to two things he's doing really well here as a communicator. I find myself just locked in and engaged here with the talk because it's really good content. He's a very captivating speaker. So what makes him a captivating speaker? There's two things that he's doing. One is his cadence. He's going at a good pace here where it doesn't feel like it's too fast, where you're having a hard time keeping up with him, or it doesn't feel like he's going too slow where it's just almost lulling you to sleep there and it's just dragging out. The other thing too is he's talking in a very strong, confident voice. So it's not too loud. It doesn't feel like he's yelling at you or shouting down to you, but it also doesn't feel like he's whispering. But what this means is because he has a strong voice, then when he goes to the other extreme where he brings it down to maybe a soft whisper, it draws you in even more because there's such a big difference between where he's speaking now and what a whisper sounds like. So that, just be aware of that, of when you're speaking, it's okay to be loud, it's okay to be strong and confident without yelling or without coming down on people. But by speaking on a more confident, strong type of approach and strong type of voice, it also means that you can be softer, and that can be much more powerful and effective as well.
That will begin to help us to discover the secrets to our dream. Here's what I want you to repeat after me, please, with power and conviction. Say, it's possible. It's possible. That's all I want you to do when you look at your dream. Just say to yourself every day, it's possible. Just say that every day to yourself, it's possible. Because what does that do? See,
simple little call and response there. I want you to say it and say it proud and say it with conviction. It's possible. And so now, how many of you found yourself, as he's saying it again and again, you find yourself repeating back to him what he just said, right? You've found yourself saying in your head, it's possible, it's possible, it's possible. So just that simple act of getting people to say something, right? So it doesn't have to be this long, drawn out paragraph that they're going to repeat back. Could just be a word, could be a couple of words, but some key thing that he's talking about drills that in their head from the beginning.
It begins to change your belief system. See, the way in which we operate, ladies and gentlemen, it's a manifestation of what we believe, what's possible for us. Whatever you've done up to this point, all that it really is a duplication, it's a reproduction of what you believe subconsciously that you deserve and what's possible for your life. Most people operate out of their personal history, out of their memory, things they have done, things they've experienced, things they've seen, things that they have observed. What I'm suggesting that you operate out of a larger vision of yourself. I want you to see yourself doing what you want to do, experiencing what you want to experience, having what you want to have, doing what it is that gives your life some meaning and value. Operate out of your imagination, not your memory. Because whenever you look at where you want to go, I'm wanting to warn you, you will have some conversation back here after you go through the data that you've experienced in life saying you can't do it. And so what you want to begin to do is ignore that inner conversation. Well, most people, ladies and gentlemen, when something happens to them, what they do is they begin to believe that that's the way it is. That's the way it's always been. And they can't see the possibility of it being any different. Example, before April 1954,
okay, this is a good job of giving an example, right? So he kind of gives this concept here and people are kind of like processing in their mind, like, okay, what are the things in my own life that have happened and I've assumed like it's always going to be like that. This is the way it is, this is the way it's always going to be. So good job here of interjecting and giving, here's a concrete example of what this actually looks like.
The common belief, the universal belief, because it had been tried again and again and again and people had failed, the belief was that man was not physically capable of breaking the 4-minute barrier, that he could not run a mile in less than 4 minutes. That was the belief on the planet. It had never been done. But here's what happened, ladies and gentlemen. Roger Bannister came along, and he broke the 4-minute barrier. Now here's what's significant about that. Since that time. Now,
this is the type of story that you could build out a little bit more there. So the punchline, so to speak, the delivery, like the key point is Roger Bannister comes along and he runs the 4-minute mile. So he could build out that story a little bit more of, you know, on this date, on this race, in this state, you know, it was a hot day, started slow, but then he built up and he had the energy, the crowd was into it and yada, yada, yada. And that by the end, he broke the 4-minute mile. So it's more of a build up to climax versus just going straight to the punchline. Now, you can go straight to the punchline just because it's like it doesn't need all of that if this is not that powerful of a story for, or not a key story that he's using, right? This is just a quick story. That's all it's meant to be. Tell the punchline and move on. But if it's something where either A, he wanted to make it more powerful, or B, he wanted just to even fill an extra minute or two, he could flesh out that story a little bit more.
Up to this day, over 20,000 people have done it, including high school kids. What changed? 20,000 people, what changed? Here's what happened when they got on the track. They knew it had been done. And because they knew it had been done, there was a new belief about this barrier, about this goal that was unreachable. And those 20,000 people got in the race believing, knowing in their heart that someone had done it, that it's possible that they could do it. And I'm saying that if you know anybody that had some goal, some dream, something they wanted to do, and they did it, then I'm saying that you know in your heart that if someone has done it, then you can do it. It's possible. And that if someone can make their dream become a reality, then it's possible that you can make your dream become reality. And so as you begin to look at where you want to go, beginning to embrace that, it's possible. I'm blessed and highly favored. I've got a lot going for me. I got some good stuff in me. And it's possible that I can bring my greatness out here in the universe. That I can do what I want to do. It's possible I can write my own book. I can have my own business. I can take the trip and travel.
Okay, good job here of then giving some concrete examples of what this would look like. So it's one thing to talk about, your dreams can be possible. You can see those things happening, and it's like, okay, I don't know what that means, or I don't know what that would entirely look like. So then giving an example of here's how it looked like with Roger Bannister. And you had a bunch of people who didn't believe it was possible to run a 4-minute mile. One guy did it, and now 20,000 people have done it since then, right? So here's a concrete example of what this looks like. Now, let's bring it to a practical level, because most people in that audience aren't thinking like, man, I would love to run a 4-minute mile if someone would just tell me that it's possible, right? Most people in the audience aren't thinking that, but they are thinking, man, I would love to write a book, or I'd love to start a business, or I'd love to, whatever the other examples are, he's getting ready to give. So all of a sudden it takes this thing and it makes it much more relatable and applicable for where the audience is at and what they're trying to accomplish.
Around the world, it's possible. I can bounce back from adversity and reinvent my life. It's possible. Regardless of where I am, the things can get better for me. It's possible.
You notice how he keeps saying the line, it's possible, it's possible, it's possible. So again, going back to what we talked about before, where he says that line, has the audience repeat it back, and then he keeps just hammering that line, hammering that line, hammering that line. So that's really good, because again, it just drills it in their minds, not like this long, here's this long sentence I want you to remember, or here's this key principle, just a really simple thing. It's possible, it's possible, it's possible. Saying that over and over and over again, reiterating that point, making that point, drilling that point in is really, really powerful and effective here.
I'm thinking about two men right here in Chicago who were fairly successful, similar background, educated. They worked for a corporation for many years, and they were among many people that were laid off. Two guys who were very good friends. One went out looking for a job for several weeks along with the other one, and they faced disappointment and rejection again and again and again. They couldn't find any work, which is the story of many people across this country. One guy stopped. He became discouraged. He stopped going. He stayed home looking at television, became very argumentative and toxic with his wife, drinking beer, getting on the phone, talking to his other negative, unemployed friends. And he just gave up.
I don't know if that was meant to be funny, but when the audience is laughing and responding in that way, again, part of the reason they're doing that is because of the natural engagement and connection that they have to Les Brown. Not just to some generic speaker, but to him. They came to see him. So he says something that's semi-funny, it gets a good reaction from the audience. So if the audience reacts like that, the best thing for you to do is what he just did, which is just to pause. Don't keep talking over them while people are laughing. Like, give that time to subside before you continue.
The other guy kept looking for a job everywhere he could go. Every time he could get an opportunity, kept asking people, networking, checking the newspapers every day. kept going everywhere he could, trying to find a job. You have too much education. You're overqualified. You won't be here long enough. He kept going. He kept going. He went to a place and said, look here, I tell you what, if you can't hire me, and I know you can use my talents, abilities, and skills, I don't want to sit home and do nothing. Just let me do some volunteer work. You don't have to give me anything, all right? I just want to work. I want to be busy. Guy said, okay, it's on you now, but don't expect me to give you anything. It's okay. This guy came in and worked. He was the first one there. The last one to leave was the best employee there. About 4 weeks later, one of the top managers quit. They were looking for a replacement. Guess who they selected? This other guy. This guy who was volunteering his time. He got the job. What was the difference between the two men? Eyesight and mindsight. Eyesight is judging on what you see, judging according to appearances. But mindsight is how you interpret what you see. One guy said, it's not possible, it's over, I'm finished. I can't do it. I can't make it. He surrendered. I've faced rejection again and again. I'm not going anymore. There are no jobs out there. But this other guy, he felt that in spite of the no's and rejections, in spite of how bad the economy is, in spite of what the newspapers are saying, that it's possible that somebody somewhere will give me a job. He just kept going, thinking it was possible. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? That's what we have to do with our dreams. Because things happen to you in life that you can never, ever anticipate. And many times when those things happen, you want to give up. I remember when I was in broadcasting, when I was a disc jockey, I became very controversial. Not only
All right, let's point out something here. What do you think of his slides so far? Doesn't have any slides, right? I think oftentimes as speakers we feel like you have to have slides, but know this, that there are plenty of great speakers who don't use slides, right? I personally, I don't use slides. I wouldn't put myself in a category of Les Brown, but I personally don't use slides. Nothing wrong with them. Slides can bring a lot to a presentation and a talk that you may not be able to get from just the spoken word. Now, also I'll give them the benefit of the doubt here. This looks like it was probably from maybe the 80s and the technology was dramatically different back then than what it would be today. But you don't always need slides to make a powerful point. This has been a really powerful message so far, and we haven't seen anything related to slides. He may not do anything with slides, and that's okay. So don't feel like that you have to have slides in order for a talk to be great. All right, there you go, my friends. Hope you enjoyed that speech breakdown. If you did, as always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We have new speech breakdowns coming to you every single week. Don't want you to miss out on any one of them. Also, don't forget to like this video. Click that like button below so other people know about it. And then also, finally, don't forget to comment. Leave a comment and let us know what is the one takeaway that you learned from this speech breakdown that you're going to apply to your next talk or presentation. And as always, if you know of other speakers that you would like for us to break down their talk or speech, then make sure that you let us know in the comments below. All right, my friends, thanks for hanging out with us. We'll catch you next time. You're awesome.